A game of chess is like a sword fight. You must think first.
Black is GM Morozevich, one of the best players in the world, against White, who is GM Road King. GM Road King just won the last game, and here's the rematch. And Morozevich comes out with the Albin counter gambit, an exciting opening that I play sometimes because I'm a tactical player who's interested in creative positions, just like Morozevich. And it's he sacked a pawn to create this funny dynamic position, and there's like these traps. Like if the pawn goes to e3 earlier, then there's a bishop b4 track, and then you actually end up taking on f2 and g1 check with it promoting to a knight. Like there's some really funny lines. But in this position, there is 7 pawns for black, 7 pawns for white. So black has won back the pawn that he sacrificed on the second move. And he has a pawn on d4. Black Morozevich has a pawn on d4, which could be a weakness or a strength in that position. And here he has the opportunity to take en passant if he chooses. White has played e4, making a central thrust. And Morozevich decides to move his knight to e5. And the queen moves to c2. Often in the opening, I feel like you want to move the queen somewhere where it's not attacked immediately. And so this is a good square to keep the queen safe and also protect some key central squares. So bishop goes to b4, trying to trade off the dark squared pawns, because the pawn on d4, would restrict the mobility of the dark squared bishop. Thus, Morozevich is thinking, okay, I want to trade off the dark squared bishop so that these pawns on the dark squares can become very strong, unhindered by an ally bishop of the same color. And the bishop actually gets to c3, which is interesting because white plays bishop f4. So a pretty strong bishop on c3, I think. I feel like that could be good for black. But white makes a central thrust with this e5 move, a pawn e5 move, and attacking the pawn on b7. And we see that the bishop was attacking the pawn, and so c6 was played. The bishop moves to e5, and we see an immediate f5, kicking the bishop back and then exchanging. Now white has the initiative. It's like, who's the beatdown? Like, you get to attack or defend. And so you see here, this pawn is attacked. It must be defended. This pawn is attacked. It must be defended. That's how the initiative works in chess. So I think we're going to see a rook b1 move because the queen on b6, it's just attacked by these two pieces. So now it's defended twice. White's using a lot of their pieces just to hold the queenside structure together. And it looks like this bishop and this bishop have some restricted mobility. The last piece, the rook, moves to d1, and this rook, black's rook, moves to a2, controlling the second rank, which is very powerful. So here, Morozevich is up over 20 seconds. So Morozevich, as black, I think has an advantage in this game. His rooks and his rook on a2 and his bishop on c3 are very strong, and he's up a little bit of time. But he gave away some of that time right here to find this move. This move was h6, threatening g5, which is really pretty creative. I mean, who puts their king position into jeopardy like that? Rook comes to a3, attacking the b3 pawn. And the bishop moves to h3, attacking the pawn on f5. So the pawn on f5 is attacked twice. It looks like he won't be able to defend with g6 here because he played the h6 move. But the pawn on b3 falls. So each player loses a pawn. They trade pawns on different parts of the board, creating dynamic asymmetries. So now the bishop takes on f5, and black really has to take it back. The queen takes back. Now the queen is in Morozevich's base, which can often become dangerous. And in this position, a check is played. Oh, and he pins the queen. He pins the queen to the king. He sacks the queen for the rook and then pins it. And that's how he knew that he wouldn't immediately be exposed with his opponent, with the white queen on f5. The black king would not be vulnerable because he had already seen that tactic where he sacks his queen to regain the queen, the next move with a pin. So here, this is a pretty strong structure. The pawn on e3 and the bishop on d3 are really stopping the white king from entering the battlefield. And it looks like the black king will just be able to move one step at a time, from g8, f8, e7. Oh, but the White kind of does the same thing. White plays bishop d6, restricting the mobility. But here, that's a pin, right? So the pawn can't take because then the bishops take. Wait, but I think if the pawn takes, the bishops take, it almost looks like you can win by sacking one of the pawns and queening the other one. But I think it might have been one turn short, but it didn't go that way. So Morozevich is now down on time. He was up on time earlier, but now he's down to under 20 seconds against 32 seconds, which is a huge disadvantage. It looks like Morozevich might lose this game on time. I'm not sure if he can come back from a deficit of this many seconds. He sacks that pawn back. Oh, no, that's why he was thinking for so long. That's a problem. And so now White has a really strong position here. This is a lot of trouble. Morozevich only has 7 seconds against 24. He tries to sack the bishop to queen the pawn, but it just doesn't work. No, Morozevich, you can't lose. You're my hero. 3 seconds versus 17. He's getting flagged. It's over. He can't win this. White just moves his king around, and he's only got a second. No! All right, well, that's a winning position for Black, but Road King went into that position because he knew that there was no immediate win, so he could flag his opponent. So that's game 2 of the live commentary. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's see you next time.